Welcome to Immediate Immersion Live. How's everybody doing today? Get my glasses so I can see. I hope everybody's doing well. I don't know about you. We started a new semester with new kids on Monday, so I'm excited for that. It's been going well so far. Couple of things I want to talk about before we get started today. Remember, we have our Assessment Academy. If that's something you're interested in learning more about, standards-based, I can't think of the word I was looking for, standards-based or proficiency-based grading, assessment, coming up with exams, different assessments, rubrics, all of that sort of stuff. You can go join our Assessment Academy. Let me put that in here right now. So it's the Assessment Academy. There it is at mm.us/academy. It's 10 pre-recorded classes, which are already open for watching right now. And then we have 2 live classes at the end of March. One is live Q&A, and then one is a live grading where we grade together some speaking and writing assessments so that we can kind of calibrate the rubric together. And the other thing that we have going on starting in mid-February, so just about a month from now, is our 2025 Comprehended Conference. So it's our annual conference, Comprehended. If you go to mm.us/conference, you can sign up for that. You can sign up for a 3, 6, 9, or 12-month access pass. Whatever works best for you, but those are our 2 things that are going on right now. You can get up the Assessment Academy and join it and start watching right today. And the other thing is the conference, our Comprehended 2025 conference. That will start mid-February. I believe it's February 15th. I could be wrong. It's that Saturday. Let me double check it, what the actual date is. You think I know it by now? It is. I was right. The 15th. So it'll start on the 15th. So you can register now before the price goes up again. The price will go up, I believe, right around that date. You have to check the site to give you the exact date when it will go up. But take advantage now if that's something you're interested in. It's a whole bunch of different comprehensible input type sessions, all based on comprehensible input. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about interactive language skills. So we're going to talk about unlocking the secret to easy and effective language assessment when it comes to assessing interactive language skills. So if those who don't know, my name is Scott, and you're watching Immediate Immersion Live, where we're all about comprehension-based instruction in the modern language classroom. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. And welcome back. And I forgot to tell you something really exciting that we're doing. We are starting some interviews starting this Thursday. We are going to be interviewing everyday teachers who have moved to comprehensible input. So it'll be, the first one is this Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we have Jackie, I'm trying to think what her last name is, Plunk. It's a hyphenated name. Give me 1 second. I will find it. Jackie Deming Plunk is who is going to be our first one. It's our very, very first. And then the following week, we're going to do Judy Percy. So if it's something you're interested in, come join us. It'll be a YouTube Live, just like we're doing just now, 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be doing 2 a month, and we're going to see how it goes. So interviewing everyday teachers just like you about their CI experience. So if that's something you're interested in, come join us on Thursday. We'll see you then. Okay, let's get started about today. So today we're going to start with talking about incorporating engaging interactive activities. So that's really important to do to get kids involved and to get kids being interactive and using the language so that they can master it. So the first thing we want to talk about, one strategy, would be role-playing real-life scenarios. So you can assign students to act out common situations like ordering food or asking for directions to assess spontaneous communication. Now, these can get really rote. They're kind of like those A-B card activities, and they can get really rote and really contrite. So I like to change things up. I don't like to give my kids heads up about what they're going to be doing. I like to spring it on them, give them a minute or two to collect their thoughts and let them go. And then I might, in the middle, throw in a wrench, something weird in there so I can see how they adapt. Because I really want to see their spontaneous language and interaction, not pre-thought about memorized type speech or memorized type dialogues. I want it to be more spontaneous to do that. So I'll throw those little wrenches in. I won't give them a lot of time to prepare. And obviously, when I'm assessing them, I'm going to take that into account. They didn't have a lot of time to prepare for whatever they're doing. But this allows me to get a more real assessment on how they can think on their feet, which is what they're going to have to do in the real world. They can't plan out every dialogue, every conversation that they're going to have as they tour a country. So I want them to be able to think on their feet. And one of the great ways to be able to do this is to make sure your kids know backwards and forwards the sweet 16 verbs. For everybody but Spanish, it's 15 verbs, but it's the sweet 16 verbs. Get to know them. Make sure your kids know them at a level appropriate level for those. So for like level 1, I want to make sure that they definitely know the present tense and possibly the most common of the two past tenses for that particular verb. So it might be the imperfect for the verb to be, but it will be the preterite for the verb to go. Then in level 2, I definitely want them to be working on, I want them to know the present solidly. I want them to know the past, both forms of the past. And then I want them to know the immediate future, the going to go form of the future. And then in level 3, I want to harp on the future. The reason I'm only limiting to those 3 tenses is because both the IB and the AP test only expect the kids to have mastered present, past, and future. And they need to be able to navigate between all 3 of those. So I really want to focus on those. Obviously, I'm going to touch on the other tenses, but those are the ones I really want my kids to know backwards and forwards, so that that allows them with those 16 verbs to be able to speak more spontaneously because they cover a wide breadth. As I told my kids today as we started learning them in my class, they get the most bang for the buck. So they might not be the most highest frequency of the verbs, but they are frequent enough verbs and they get a lot of bang for their buck. They can't say I drive, I walk, I run, I fly, but they can say I go. And that's good enough at their level to be able to communicate. We can work on advanced language and advanced vocabulary later on. Let them get the basics solidly and a good solid foundation, and then they can work from there later on. Another strategy is information gap activities. These are really great because not only do they require spontaneous speech, but they also require higher order thinking. Sorry, really thirsty. So how this works, you might have remembered these. These have been an old-fashioned type of activity, but you'll pair students with different pieces of information that they must share verbally to complete a task, promoting active dialogue. So, pardon me, the way that I've seen this and I do it the most is they'll have a similar picture, but there will be differences and similarities. And the goal is for them to find like the 10 differences and the 10 similarities. And they're back to back, so they can't see each other's picture. They're sitting back to each other, and they have to talk and try to communicate. Do you have a shoe in the upper right-hand corner. No, I don't have a shoe in the upper right-hand corner. I have a sock in the upper right-hand corner. So those are some great ways to do that, but they don't have to be that simplistic. Just where they both have different things that they have to communicate without seeing them, only using oral. They have to practice their speech. It's really, really good. You can do a lot of vocabulary practice with this. Let's say, my department's final exam from last semester for level 1 really harped on clothing and colors. So you could have the same clothing on the picture, but maybe they're different colors or different sizes that they can talk about and have that gap in there. So they're trying to figure out exactly what they're saying, or what's the differences and the similarities between using the language that they have. A third strategy are group discussions and debates. And yes, you can do this in a level 1 if you scaffold it right. So organize discussions on topics relevant to students' interests to encourage participation and assess their ability to express ideas interactively. So different things that really affect students, you'll get the best participation. For example, should teachers give homework? That is going to be a high-end type of a topic with kids. Right now, our school board has imposed a new phone rules in compliance with California state law, and it's a hot topic. So we could have a debate with that. And even in level 1 and level 2, you can start off by saying, who, in the target language, of course, who agrees and who disagrees. And then you can write phrases or at least sentence starters. I think that. Different kinds of like that to get them started. And then what I let them do in level 1, I'll ask them yes and no type questions, either or type questions to start the dialogue, to start the debate. Then I'll have some sentence starters, and then I will put some key words in like a word bank on the board so they can see all of this. And I will allow them to use the sentence starter, use whatever words from the word bank that I think of, and then the rest can be in English to get them started. Then once they give it to me, I will then put the whole thing in the target language for them. As new keywords come up that I didn't think of, I'll add them to the bank. And it's a great way to have this. Then save this because you can use it for other classes or even following years as a debate. Because when you first do it, you don't always think of all the keywords that could possibly come up. But by the end of having the discussions for that day, you'll have a good idea and you can have a good slide all ready for your kids for next year. So that's a great little thing. If anybody has done anything like any of those 3 things, let us know in the chat, or if you're watching this on the replay, down in the comments. I'd love to know. And let's move to the next slide. Next, let's talk about simple assessment tools. So you want to use simple and effective assessment tools to really make the assessment portion really, really easy. So starting off is an observation checklist. So use checklists during activities to note specific skills like eye contact, response time, and use of vocabulary. And you can use whether it be a Google form to do this, or I use formative.com to do this. You can make a checklist. I always print out a copy of the checklist for the kids to see so that they can see and they can make their own checklist as well, see what they're doing. I might even have them do it with pairs, and the pair will evaluate them off the checklist based off the checklist. But a checklist is just a really simple form of a rubric. They're not gauging how well each point of the checklist is accomplished, just if it's there or if it's not. So it's a real simple way to work them up towards actually using the rubric. Peer assessments is another one. Have students provide feedback on each other's communication skills, fostering a collaborative learning environment. So it can be the checklist or it can be a rubric, but have them work in pairs and have each pair give feedback, positive feedback with constructive criticism. And you have to teach kids to do this so they're not mean and they're not overly harsh with kids. And I usually tell them I want the sandwich technique. Start with something positive, give them something to grow on, and then give them finish with something positive. So they're not left feeling kind of icky afterwards. So we talk about that. We teach them how to do that, and then we give them opportunities to do that. And then the last way is having them self-assess themselves using reflections. So encourage students to reflect on their own performance through guided questionnaires and increasing self-awareness. So it could start with that checklist. What areas did you do well on the checklist? Which ones did you not? Which areas did you miss? Why do you think you missed those? Give them some guiding questions to use off that. If they're more advanced and you're working off of a rubric, ask them questions about the rubric. What part of the rubric did you do really, really well? Which parts did you find more challenging? Why do you think that? I always tell my kids when they're answering reflection questions, the answer is not as important as the reasoning behind the answer, because that's where the growth happens. That's where the understanding and the light bulbs go off, is during that explanation, not only for them as a student, but for me as a teacher. As I'm reading them, I go, oh, I never thought of that. And so I can incorporate that in my instruction from that. And it's teaching them a really good skill, metacognition, to think about their own thinking, which is a really good skill. We need to do this throughout our entire life. Evaluate what went well, what didn't go well, what will we tweak next time. Those are some very, very important lessons that we need to do on a regular basis. And so teaching our kids to do that through their own abilities is a great way to teach that and to also improve their speaking and conversational skills. And by the way, let me give you another reference here, another resource, mm.us/rubrics. I have a simple, these are all my rubrics here. You can download for free. But if you go here, I also have a conversation rubric, which is what I use for interpersonal speaking, that you can see there and either use it as is or make it your own. Make your own version from it and make it work for your particular classroom. Now let's go ahead and move on to point number 3, which is leverage technology for easy assessment. So interactive language apps are so important. So incorporate apps that offer speaking and listening exercises with instant feedback to monitor progress. So these are harder to find that are already pre-made that you can use that are at the right level for your students. But what I like to do is I will come up with stories and I will record them so the kids can listen to them. And then I'll ask them questions that they have to respond to in that. And I am 100%, they don't pay me, I promise. It's not a sponsored video, but I love formative.com. Our school district bought access to quizzes, which is this one, quiz is, I think that's how you spell it. It's got 2 Z's in there somewhere, so I don't know if it's the first Z is doubled or the second Z is doubled. Quizzes, I don't like it as much. It seems more of a game, but I absolutely love Formative. It costs me $15 a month, and it is well worth it. It comes out of my own pocket. So with this activity, I can record something that they listen to, then I can ask them questions in the target language, and then they can click record and record their responses that I can then listen to afterwards. It works really, 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 really well. And I love it. And I do it. It works for so many different types of questions. It doesn't have to be this. Kids can respond with video responses. They can respond with audio responses. It can be textual, so they can do short answer, fill in the blank, matching, essay, all kinds of things. And it's not just for language assessments. It can be done for any assessments. You can tie them to standards. I can see data from that. I absolutely positively love this app. It used to be called Go Formative. They just reduced their name to Formative a couple of years ago. But I 100% endorse this app. And even if you have to pay out of pocket, it is so well worth it. They do have a free version. It's extremely limited. And I doubt you'll be able to do where the kids can leave a recorded response. But I absolutely love that. So they record their responses in there. I can listen to it as many times as I need to. And then when I assess it, if a kid has a question, I can go, here's what I heard. We can play it back together. I can leave feedback on that. I can email feedback to the kids. It is just really, really great. And you can set up a grading rubric. So you can create a rubric on there so that you just click the areas of the rubric right along in there, and it will give an overall grade on it. I absolutely love it. So that's how I do that. I used to use, for at least this part of it, I did do the assessment piece, but for interactive, I used to use Flipgrid. But since that was discontinued at the end of last year, I had to find something else. And I've been using formative.com for many years, but I didn't use that aspect of it until this year. And I'm actively using it, and it works really, really well. The next is a video recording of conversations. Again, Formative has it for $15 a month. You can do it. They can record the video just like they did in Flipgrid. So I love that. So record student interactions for review, allowing for more accurate and detailed assessments. Because when it's happening right then and there, you can't always get all the nuances as you're trying to listen and then fill out a rubric. So if you record it, they do it video, you can play it over and over again, and you can, point out specific areas where they did really, really good and pick out one or two areas that they could improve upon. Really great. I mean, Formative does it all. I do every single one of my assessments is on Formative, but even practice activities I do on Formative as well, because it helps me grade them really, really quickly, and I can design all kinds of different assessments, interactive assessments for my kids to be able to do. And it doesn't have to be a test or a quiz. It can just be a practice activity as well. And the last are online discussion platforms. So use formatives or chat rooms where students can engage in written communication, which can be easily reviewed and assessed. If you use apps like Google Classroom, you can do this through there. We have Canvas and Google Classroom. I choose to use Canvas over Google Classroom, and I can put a discussion board up there. Or you can go to WordPress.com. It's a free version of WordPress. You can make a private blog where kids have to interact back and forth, so it's not public facing. You could also make a private Instagram account that's only for the class, and you only give access to the students in the class, and then you can make discussions back and forth. Lots of different ways to be able to do this, and find fun, interactive, and modern ways to do it so that kids get more engaged. They're going to be much more engaged if it's TikTok or Instagram than if it's, a blog type activity. So those are the ideas that I have for incorporating interpersonal communication in the classroom and finding ways to do it. If anybody has any great ideas or suggestions or things that they do, I'd love to hear them. Go ahead and put them down in the chat or in the comments if you're watching on the replay. And again, I'm going to remind you for next week, we are starting, or not next week, this Thursday coming up, we are starting with our CI stories, real everyday teachers telling us about their CI experience. We have one scheduled this Thursday and one next Thursday. We're doing 2 a month. So keep on the lookout for that. You can go to, let me give the website here, im.us/live. And if you click on that one, oops, that's what I wanted to see. If you click on that link, you'll see always our live streams and what's coming up. So all of our upcoming live streams will be shown right then and there. So with that, if there's no questions or comments, I wish everybody a great week. I will see you on Thursday if you come for CI Stories. Otherwise, I will see you next Tuesday. And what are we going to be talking about next Tuesday? Let me take a look because I don't remember. Let me just go to that website. Actually, mm.us/live. It'll tell me right away. So next week we will be talking about, next week is the 21st. Where is my 21st of January? Proficiency-based grading. So that's what we're going to be talking about, which is kind of just leading into our assessment academy that we have going on. So, and then we'll be talking with Jackie on this Thursday. And then the next week, we'll be talking with Judy the following week. So with that, I say goodbye to everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you're catching this on the replay, great. Thank you for joining us. Oh, and I always forget, please like and subscribe. It really does help the channel out. It's a great way to support for free. Let other teachers know that we're here, and let YouTube know that it's something that's of interest to teachers. Go ahead and click the like, click the subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And with that, I will say goodbye until Thursday. Have a good one, everybody. And if I can find my right screen. There we go.